Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest narration of the web series Accidentally Adopted. If you're new to the series, there is a playlist listed down below in the description. And as always, I hope that you enjoy. Chapter 7, Comfort. Log 6,000,000.9.03. Personal, Captain Yormdrill. I swear by every star I've ever sailed by, if Trandy is right, I'll buy her whatever she wants while we're on station. Dresses, fancy charcoals, fancy pencils, fancy sketchbooks. A personal hologram? Yes, I'll get her whatever she asks for. Sneaky continued his campaign against me last night. At first, I was overjoyed to find my work boots sitting by my bedroom door. Until I put my foot in one, there was something soft and squishy inside. One whiff told me that it was Vunberries. Well, I had the sense to dump them out for my other boot. And I had to spend the next 10 minutes in the bathroom washing my boot out so that I wasn't walking around with that disgusting feeling. If it really is because Sneaky is angry with me over the door, then I'll have to do something obviously nice for him so that he knows that I'm on his side. Trafty had the deck hands get the appropriate cargo sorted out and loaded onto pallets, and was spending the day getting the proper bills of sale ready. Some of the goods had to be packed separately to go through customs, since they were taken on across the border and are imports at the stop. She grumbled about the paperwork over breakfast. Speaking of, Trandy did something clever for Sneaky's breakfast. She had him sit in the high chair and made breakfast in front of him so that he could see that she only used the foods that we'd seen him eating before. Again, he surprised us, because when she put the dish in front of him, he held up one finger, got down and went over to the flatware drawer and got a fork out. We really should just expect him to have observed things like that by now. He ate every last bite and seemed to savor the hot food. Since taking Sneaky out yesterday went well, I suggested doing so again. But Trefty said that it might be better to let him rest after such an eventful day. He looked fine to me. But then again, it's hard to tell whether he's okay or not. My bridge shift had the added thrill of making sure the docking protocols were still correct, and I briefly contemplated charting a new route. Well, not like exploration, but going somewhere new. I resolved to bring it up at the next officers' meeting. The protocols matched the codes that I'd received via Hypercom, and didn't need to request an updated file. Apart from that, it was another uneventful shift in the bridge. Surprisingly, I didn't even have that little bit of worry about Sneaky in the back of my head anymore. According to Trafty, he and Yorvdrill didn't get up to much during the day, just a more complicated variation of the fetching game that he'd come up with before. Interestingly, she said that Sneaky was very attentive when she put on some educational cartoons for Yorvdrill. He must be fascinated by the colors and motion, like a little kid. Anyway, I got the transportation crate ready before I made it back to the quarters, and Yamdrol came over to get away from how depressing it is to be in the same quarters as a sulking teenager and a furious mom. Sneaky seems to have decided he's okay, since he let him pat his head. We're hoping that Trandy is right about the Voidborn door. Journal Entry 7, date 1/16, name Grid George. I decided to be nice to the dad and give him both of his work boots, with those rank assberries up in the toes. If the pranks stop being funny, I'll just break the door, but I just don't think he's that thick-headed. Still, if there was a sergeant around, they'd be amazed at lack of property damage or minor burns. It's unheard of for a barracks wall to have been so mild. However, I just point out that the sergeant that my opponent has been locking my cabin from the outside every night without doing anything to alter his strategy. The other side has no clue that he is in a war, or that he could employ an alternate strategy. The best kind of war. Then I yonked a fresh set of PJs from Linus's room and took a quick bath. Mom is not going to have cause to bathe me against my will again. So if that means secret nighttime baths, then so be it. Well, my subconscious had decided that I'm safe enough to get into processing this shit. God damn it. God damn every one of those googly-eyed fecks. Well, Dr. Johann had me start my other sanity journal because of this kind of thing. It was a full-blown nightmare, the kind where my subconscious very helpfully blended my fears with my experiences to tell my conscious mind that I have new things to be terrified of. Here, the pen stroke score of the paper quite deeply. Well, I was in the ring again, killing some blurry, indistinct animal. And when the googly-eyed lizard came to shove me back into the cage, it morphed into Lucy. Then the dead animal turned into Lioness, and I woke up sobbing. Quietly, but still. Great. Heaving, shaking sobs. Thanks, subconscious. I really needed to know. I was scared of that. The pen strokes have gone back to normal. Feck, that hurt. I managed to pull my crap together before Lucy came for me, though. Dr. Johann would ask whether I needed to hide my pain from a kid who already saw me huddled in a corner in a despondent terror. Shut up, internal therapist voice. Nobody asked you. She did her morning ritual of smearing the numbing agent cream on my bruises and fixing my Viking braid. I think she assumed that it came undone in my sleep, and from the state of my birth, it wasn't that unreasonable. That nightmare was bad. This time, it was Lucy who did something new. She cooked me breakfast in front of me so that I could see that everything she used was safe. Clever. It's not that I don't trust you, Lucy. I just don't know whether your cooking is death or not. Now, a hot breakfast made of fruits and vegetables is weird. Weird, but after about a week's worth of raw diet, it's fecking bliss. I almost cried from joy. When Lucy went to class, Lioness and I stayed behind again, which wasn't the worst thing, because it meant that I could get more data out of my living Rosetta Stone. Also, he's just so damn joyful about playing with me that it makes me feel better. Getting him to say the nouns for things wasn't hard. When he pointed at something and said that, I just stood there and put a confused look on my face until he said a different word, then got the object. Once he asked for a duplicate of an object with the same word as before, I knew he'd caught on. Smart kid. After a while, he got bored and wanted to ride around on my shoulders. So we did that until Mom decided that we were getting too excited, I guess, and she put on an educational cartoon again. Lioness seemed a little grumpy, but he quietened down when he realized I was paying attention. It was an episode about a kid going to the doctor. Very useful. I learned doctor, nurse, first aid, shot, bandage, and treat, 4 words as well as 4 symbols for medical purposes. This show is the tits. Mom had a phone call with Dad, and Lucy came home with Susan. Jackpot. Clothes that goddamn fit. Moving on up indeed. So far, it is a set of one-piece pajamas with that tail hole sewn shut and the lower arm sleeves removed, and of course the holes patched, and a pair of sturdy pants with a t-shirt with the same modifications. But I was so grateful that I gave each of the girls a hug. Turns out that was the right move because they smiled and ruffled my hair, and I heard the word good a couple times. Hot damn, things are looking up and up. Maybe the dad will even decide that he's learned his lesson tonight. Dear Diary, I think Sneaky is from a planet with lots of dangerous plants. I was curious if his eating habit was because he didn't trust us, or if it had to do with the food itself. So I made breakfast for him where he could see. Not only did he eat it, I think he really liked it. Speaking of, he's already figured out how to use a fork. I told him he's a good boy for being so smart. I couldn't really focus on school, cause we're docking tomorrow. A scan should help us get Sneaky more foods that he needs, because he's looking skinnier than when we first started living with us. And I don't think that's good. Ringy had some first attempts, and I thought they'd looked great. But she was a little down on herself about some of the seams being crooked and messing up on one of the patches on the t-shirt. Well, when we got home, Sneaky loved them. I know he did since he gave both of us a hug. It felt like he was squishing me for a sec, and now I wonder just how strong he is. He's going to look so cute in a Ranger Epsilon shirt, Guardians of Goodness and Night. But he could be strong enough to break everything in our quarters, and it wouldn't matter, because I don't think he'd do that. He's a good giant lemur, after all. Daddy let me leave Sneaky's door unlocked tonight, and he said that if I'm right, he'll buy me whatever I want. At first I thought about the personal holocam, so I could link it with the database and research stuff in my room. But then I thought about Sneaky. Maybe I could get him some clothes made, like nice clothes. He'd look adorable in a formal robe. Hopefully, the station and vet aren't too scary for him. Daddy won't let me see the police report, but I know it made him cry. Sneaky's been through a lot. I don't want to make him go through more. End of chapter. I would just like to thank the T5 supporters: Bushmaster 117, Casper Arnholtz, Dragzoon W.R.E, Elijah Silvercross, Gray, John Carrington, and Sevaren Serberous. Thank you very much.